Trump to stop shitting and farting and stinking all over the goddamn place. And I've been getting internal reports from the White House that is worse than ever. They just can't. They're just incapable of emitting obnoxious odors because he's so fat. He's incoherent, incompetent, and incontinent. And it just gets worse. And I think he's even inched ahead of Bannon in the stink off. But so I don't really much like people that work in the Trump White House. I really don't feel sorry for them, but they're human beings. And at some level, you got to have some sympathy for fellow members of humanity. I know they don't, but I do. And I'm just a weak, incurable liberal that, doesn't want to see other people suffer any more than necessary. And so I'm going to try to help the people in the White House to get through the day without having to smell his stinky fucking shit all day, him farting all day, his breath, his fatness, his everything else. So we have some tools that I can recommend to you that are in proximity to him. This is one. It's called Imodium. They're not very big tablets, as you can see. There's this little white booger here. Now, I wouldn't normally advocate giving somebody a drug without their consent, but I don't think it's a particularly dangerous drug. Maybe you could put it in his morning Big Mac, and he wouldn't know the difference because he'd wolf it down so fast you wouldn't know if he put sulfuric acid in there, but this doesn't have a very negative taste. And it could give you, I don't know, six hours worth of relief. I'm not advocating that you give someone any kind of thing without their permission, but if you're a desperate person, you may be a desperate person. I don't know what I'd do if I was faced with those circumstances, because it's easy for us to say that we don't have to smell that rotten son of a bitch. But if you're sitting there in the White House, maybe there's legal defense that you had to do this for your self-protection. So you got the Imodium defense. Now, there's another one. Now, we used to use clothespins because we had a guy that I went to school with, and he stunk. He smelled really bad. And, how kids are, they're pretty cruel. And we used to use clothespins because clothespins were commonplace when a very elderly person, when I was young people actually had a clothesline. They don't have that. But these little things, you get a bag of Fritos or something, you can seal it with this. So you can put this on your nose. And maybe you had a staff meeting or something, and you can't take it anymore. You just put this on your nose, and people will see it, and you'll give a signal to other people that you don't have to smell this stinking motherfucker anymore. So you got two things. One is Imodium, and one is just clear. I'm trying to help you. I know you're desperate. I know you get home and you're gagging and you can't believe how bad the man smells, but I can't do anything about that. The only thing that I can do, I know how small that West Wing is in the White House. In other words, you can't escape that kind of shit. It's just, God forbid if Steve Bannon ever went in there. Oh my God, people falling out on the floors. So I want you people who are caught in the White House have to smell this shit every day to know that James Carville is offering you some tools. Maybe it won't be totally effective to deal with this. But for God's sakes, don't do anything that would impair this man's overall health or his cognitive ability, because I want him to be very cognitive when he watches his fat fucking ass go down and be humiliated and be exposed for what he is. I want to see when these Democrats get back in the House, and yes, they're going to get back in the Senate. I want them to drag all these goddamn people before them, put them under oath, and ask them why they're collaborating against the interests of the United States. Very legitimate avenue for congressional inquiry. And then when the next Democratic president is elected in November of the year 2028 takes office on January 20th, 29. I'm not looking for no half-ass attorney general. I'm looking for somebody that believes in justice. Yeah, justice.